Hello, greetings, and welcome back to a wonderful session of the course titled Academic Speaking and Presentation Skills. In this session, we are going to cover the topic tips to ace group discussions. Do not forget, we have already covered what are group discussions, types of group discussions. We have also seen the process of how group discussion happens, and we have also seen different skills required for group discussion. Now, this particular session is going to focus on how to enhance those skills, which are the tricks and techniques that an individual can follow while doing a group discussion. So the very first we'll consider in this particular session is threefold technique of skill development. We'll then come and learn about skill enhancement strategies. We are also going to learn advanced tips to using group discussions. Again, we are going to see certain helpful phrases that will, be a kind of an equipment for the candidate who is appearing for group discussion. So all the tools and techniques will together help us to ace group discussion. At the end of this session, we'll have a well-rounded summary. Without wasting further time, let's move to the topic. Threefold technique of skill development. Before that, you need to know when we talk about skill development, right? Skill is in itself is a unified force of experience, of intellect, and of passion, all in operation. Who says this? This is said by John Ruskin. Now, what does this particular statement means? Right, when we talk about skill enhancement, developing skills, again we are talking about the techniques that will help us to build the skills. Whenever we talk about the term skills, it cannot be developed overnight. It has to put you have an individual will have to put a lot of efforts to actually ingrain this and try keep this in use at a regular level. So until and unless a person doesn't have the intellect, until and unless the person doesn't have the passion to pursue what an individual is trying to, right, it is impossible to develop the skill at the whole. And there is no fixed set level that if a person is able to do this, then the person has the skill, right? The skill can be enhanced day by day. It can be enhanced with the practice, and it has to definitely be proved with passion in operation in everyday life. So therefore, one needs to practice. Practice is the whole and sole solution to develop, to enhance, to use the skills, as and when needed. So yes, let's start with the very first topic, threefold technique of skill development. Now when we speak of threefold technique, it is considering the three major aspects. So for three major rounds of GD, use these tips effectively. Which are these tips? First tip would go for building base, right? That is the research skill. Then there is critical thinking skills that is required for counter and questions round. And then the final round of conclusion, you will require leadership skills. What are we going to do in research skills? We already know that research skills are important, right? Especially when it comes to case study group discussion, or if it comes to opinion based discussion. So therefore, what this research data can help is basically find out the maximum information related to the topic that you are discussing. So therefore, the topic matters a lot, and the statistics or the if not the statistics, the data, the figures, the analysis, the critical aspect of something, right? Whatever is been popularly said by somebody, whatever is used as a defamation, what is there going on in the discourse regarding the topic, that would matter a lot. So therefore, giving your time towards the preparation, you need to know that there are a lot of data and details to be accustomed together and frame your opinion along with it, right? So frame your opinion to share along with a proper analysis of the matter. What is the matter? The data. Or what is the data? The statistics, the images or whatsoever, or the statements that you have researched for. So therefore, you need to understand that you need to frame your opinion through it. right? You will also have to understand that perform note taking process for controversial or intriguing points when it comes to question and counter. So now again the second part of this particular thing. So the question and counter that we have, right, is basically going to see how well are we addressing to things that have already been said. In question, nobody gives you another point to, think about, rather than just, it's more on what people have spoken on and giving, yes, the alternative as a thought or an idea. So therefore, when it comes to question and counter or critical thinking skills, perform note taking during the building base or research skills when we are talking about, right? While somebody else is speaking and building up the base, you will need to note down the details given by people so that you have concrete valid substance to question or to counter upon. So therefore, note taking practice is very much required. So note taking process for the controversial or intriguing is rather interesting, something that is acha, you want to learn more about the same points, you can use this. Back your questions with purpose. Why are you asking that particular question, right? What makes you question certain things as such, whatever is being said, right? And at the same point of time, you need to pose them very respectfully, right? That is, I have appreciated the points that you have spoken, and noting all of it, I just have a doubt regarding whatsoever. So there are various phrases that we will learn how to respectfully question somebody, not doubting their capability or potential, but just the content itself. When it comes to group discussion, people take it like a debate, so therefore, and even in a debate, it should only be the content that should be questioned, not the person's. But then, especially in the group discussion, please do not take certain things personally, right? And therefore, if any content or any data that you do not agree upon, or you find it, which is difficult, which is controversial to digest or to understand or comprehend, you can note down all of those details in question and counter round, right? You can critically put them in front of whosoever has spoken and question the details. Last round goes for conclusion and leadership skills, right? Calculate and drive the conclusion towards the opinion of majority. So how do we drive the conclusion towards the opinion of majority? You need to know what the whole group is thinking about. Even if your point is, opposite of what majority is, you need to state it very calmly, composedly, and bring that into the notice of the majority and ask for their agreement. So conclusion is, a well-rounded technique wherein you swiftly put your point with the others. Both of those points could be completely opposite, but however, you choose a midway or the madhya path and you ask for the agreement of the other group members. That agreement where all of them are involved, that conclusion would be considered the best conclusion. So what happens in, group discussion, especially in conclusion, everyone is worried about putting up their own point or own stand and considering that, oh, what I have spoken should be taken for conclusion, right? It is not just one person's inclusive point, it is inclusive of everyone's point. So conclusion has to be built by majority, it has to be built by other alternative views as well, and but leading towards, the weightage of the conclusion should be more towards the majority. So that's how the group, effectively group is working. And with that, encapsulate the point said by all and then make the final statement. So that's the threefold technique of skill development, especially for group discussion, especially for GD. When we want to, rise in GD, it is research, it is thinking, and it is leadership skills that will matter a lot. You will not only rise alone, but your whole group will get extensive points that are there. Moving to skill enhancement strategies, one needs to understand that there is a proper dressing that is required. So dress well even for group discussion, now that we have known they are more used in the formal settings, one has to be very aware about their dressing sense, about the colors that we have spoken in the interview skills, right? You have to be choosing from the darker or the lighter shade itself. Then one has to also understand how speaking eloquently is more important. You cannot fumble, you cannot make mistakes, you cannot be repetitive, you cannot be using redundant information to just enforce your idea. It has to be stated once and the members will be taking note of it. And you being the member yourself have to also ensure the same. Do not ask questions wherein the matter has already been discussed by the other group members. So you might have kept certain notes of questions, but no, if they are addressed by the other group members, you need to erase them. So you have to speak very eloquently, you have to be very mindful of what you are putting as a content in the group and how that particular content will reflect your impression. So it is presenting your thoughts and your ideas in front of the whole different mass again. So it is combination of a lot of things, right? Then we are saying that express excellently. Now expressing is not just through speaking, expressing is also through your facial expression. Many people forget that how expressive they are, and while they are engrossed in GD, right, what they do is they are listening to somebody. They will appreciate, they'll motivate others just by doing a good thumb sign, or maybe with a good smile, or maybe by raising the eyebrow one and a cringe smile and all of that. So people need to be very aware and very mindful of not just what they speak but also what they show through their facial expressions, through their hand gestures. There are people who would roll over their eyes the moment they do not like somebody in the group and they have uttered something. What they will do is they would digress away, or they would be not interested, disinterested in showing their attention towards certain few members, and there is biasness that is shown. So therefore a lot of things, just one simple act of rolling over the eyes and it can mean a lot of things. So therefore when we speak eloquently, it is about your thoughts, and when we say express eloquently, it is about your facial plus gestures, right, and a lot of other things, your postures and various other things. And at the end, when we say it is skill enhancement, you have dressed well, you have spoken well, you have expressed well. Now final comes the practice. Practice it confidently, right? How are we going to practice it confidently? We are going to try taking up different varieties of topics, see the trend, read the newspaper, collect the data. Everything can never come at the end of the point. You will have to pay emphasis on how things are happening, and therefore you can practice by just going through reading the headlines of the newspaper and build your own opinion regarding it. So data is already preconceived at certain point of time, and that preconceived data will be very helpful later on for further group discussions that happen at a formal level. So you will have to try individually at your place without any group to collect the data throughout, and at the same point of time try practicing giving your same data, information, opinion, suggestion into the group of family, friends, and try discussing it informally first. Once you have gained the mastery of informal discussions, you will be definitely be able to do it formally. That is how we enhance the skill or the strategies for group discussion. Now we are going to look at the phrases to use introduction. There are going to be various phrases, right? What are these phrases all about? First, when we speak of introductory phrases, what we can say is, as we are aware of the fact. So this is building up the base, right? As we are aware of the fact, commonly known to all, the results are. It's a matter of great concern that the storyline is the same but requires a different discourse, right? The very rare fact states, let us update ourselves with certain crucial data as. What is not told so far is, right? And then you can mention that which is unpopular but important to note so forth, the point. Then you can say that the other side of the story is, and then again. So if the facts are already known, you can use these many phrases as listed, and if the facts are not known, right, it is unpopular, then you can use these many phrases, but use them into the introduction, building the base, so that it brings out your uniqueness. Again, it says that it's not generalizing, it's not, but however it is important to consider certain details which are though commonly known are not very much given the preferences. So therefore phrases for introductions are as such. Right, now is the time to understand the phrases to use while counter. While we are encountering certain things, right, what are the things to take note about? Encountering somebody's point maybe. Over here, I'll like what you are saying, however, the point is so and so. So that is one way of saying it, right? You do not like it, you have not, been appreciative of the data, but however, these are the keywords that you need to use, right? That will bring more binding, more glue towards the group discussion that is happening. So therefore, you need to put preference to I at certain times and put preference to we at certain times. Now you need to understand when and how. Right. So I is basically you emphasizing that, okay, you have your individual voice and you are the one to appreciating somebody from the group. So I like what you are saying, I get it, it is. However, the point is also what your point is completely against something, right? I can see where the conversation is leading ahead. Can I interrupt and give you another, insight altogether? That could also be a one way of saying it, right? Next is, let us drop the ball, for we don't want others to be uncomfortable. When there is too much of heat and you know that you have countered well, you have appreciated and then, supportively stated, but what if your group members are not as such? Because when we talk about group dynamics, when we talk about group discussion, there will be every individual who would be a part of the group. You will have to deal with them as well. But how subtly, you cannot blame anybody, right? Blame the content and you can say that this is not something that we are supposed to use. To reduce the heat of the group discussion, you can simply say that, let us drop the ball, for we do not want others to be uncomfortable. You are not uncomfortable, you are okay with that, but however, this could lead to some another direction, okay? Another different way or technique would be, is it okay to address our emotional concern? Let us not go against the logic and try understand the fact. Again, when people get too much, over dramatic, drastically move from facts towards emotion, and you want to bring them to line, right? That is also your leader's responsibility. And leadership is not only seen in the last conclusive round, it is throughout. How do you motivate others? You can also use, different phases to motivate in the counter. You have spoken very well regarding the same point. Would you like to add something to this? Right? That's also a good way of questioning and appreciating at the same point of time. So that is what you need to understand, right? Is it okay to address our emotional concern? Let us not go against logic and try understand the fact. It is a sharp critic. Use it as a knife, right? As much as we appreciate participation, let us not digress from the point. Now everyone got carried away with certain things, right? Be it you also. Including that, the moment you come to senses, this should be the statement to use. As much as we appreciate participation from all around, let us not digress from the point, and the point is the topic related thing again. So would you mind also considering the proofs as when facts, are not considered, when logic is, sailed into another boat, you need to bring things into pieces, and this pieces you will have to join together. So therefore, even in counter, you have to play a very good role while you are questioning. At the same point of time, if others are questioning and you feel that that is not appropriate, you can defend the same group members by using these many phrases. These are wonderful and nice way that will respectfully put your point out and however mold the group discussion towards being more qualitative, right? Next we have phrases to be used during conclusion And remember, conclusion is not individual, it comes as a teamwork, right? So therefore you need to understand that counting on what has been said by all, the conclusion could be so and so. So dot dot dot. That could be the very good phrase to use the conclusion. You have clearly mentioned, frankly stated that it is based on everything what others have said. Then again, appreciating the heart's healthy participation from the team, I would conclude, right? Appreciating healthy participation. So therefore, it was a good discussion that has happened. But however, I would take the opportunity to conclude, and that is how you can conclude. With permission of my group, I conclude. Now this is also a very good way, right? With permission of my group, whatever your individual thought is, that you will conclude. Holding the strong point shared, we as the group would conclude, would do conclude nahi, would conclude. We as a group matters a lot. What you as a group is thinking, and that's the conclusion. And then at the end of it, right, at the end of all of these phrases, these are not just phrases with dot dot dot. Whatever you want to say, you will have to say starting with this, in middle your content, your conclusion, at the same point of time, this is what you are going to say. Do we all agree? The group member says yes, and that would be the end. Now this is the leadership responsibility. Who will state that on behalf of the whole group? Who is going to start speaking in conclusion first? Who is going to note down everything that has been said in the counter, in the first building the base round, and then again bringing everything up as a conclusion, as a summary, right? And then again giving equal importance to all the group members. So that is the leadership role that we require most in the conclusion round. Though it is a teamwork, right? You won't be able to create a conclusion without your team, but at the same point of time, you need to get the permission and take the agreement of all, right? Phrases to conclude. Certain advanced tips that are very common: hold your attitude. We cannot be sounding very strange, right? At the same point of time, while we are saying certain things, with knowledge comes simplicity. Now and again I say this, and therefore you need to understand that you cannot hold attitude of the knowledge that we have. That should not be reflected in group discussions. Be yourself, be authentic, do not try to copy others. You might see that there are other group members who are also very skillful and who are doing exceptionally well. Instead of trying to copy somebody, be your very honest self, and that will reflect rather more than anything else. Again, speak point to point, right? You have to be very concise, you have to be very precise in stating what you are stating. Do not be redundant, as I have already mentioned earlier in the threefold pattern, right? That you need to understand it. There is no space for repetition, there is no space for redundant usage of certain things. State certain things with clarity. Only if you have the idea, if you are clear with the idea, you put forth the same point in front of others. If you yourself are in doubt, do not portray that doubt in front of others. So clarity is quite required. Creating structures, and what do we mean by creating structures? You need to lead the group, you need to be a supporter, you need to be a leader, you need to be a team person, you need to be a defender. You have to act multiple at a time. So therefore, build structures, that who you would be defending on, right? Build structures, that who you would be able to question better. You can build structures according to the individual traits of the group members. And those structures are not elaborate structures saying that, oh, you have this role and responsibility, you have this duty. No, it is basically simply that you keep those things in mind and you target people accordingly, right? That is a good go. Again, be very careful while you are using certain words, statements, and see that you do not offend any caste, class, gender, any group of community, because when we talk about group discussion, we have known that group discussion is basically coming from different level of members present in the same group. It comes from, different cultural people coming, intercultural hai ye. So therefore you need to be very careful regarding all of those, right? Include examples to substantiate, right, to be very authentic. At the same point of time, you have to show your eye contact and behave formally in the group. So these are the advanced tips to follow while you are into group discussion. So with that, there's a wonderful summary that we have over here. So therefore, to summarize the session, right, I would want you to take certain individual notes that to excel in any group discussion, it is very important to perform better in major 3 rounds of group discussion. Which are these major 3 rounds? We have first started with building, the information, introduction round, building the base of the group discussion. So where in the very initial phase, once the topic is, there on the table, we will start building the base of the whole topic, and that is where first round comes. Second is basically also the question and answer round, or maybe the question and counter round, wherein we are, whoever the candidate is has to equip oneself with a lot of phrases that will help them to counter well defined without even disrupting the team spirit. So it is good to counter, but unnecessarily countering without any point, disrespecting others, would and should be strictly prohibited. So that is where we need to understand. That will go for the second round, and third and the final round is building up the conclusion. So these are the 3 major round. A group discussion would be considered successful only if an individual or a candidate has performed this particular 3 rounds exceptionally well. Then we'll have to understand that to counter well, one need to equip oneself with a research data, statistics and credibility of renowned figures. So while you are targeting, it's not just the phrases, these phrases that we have learned would help. One needs to understand that the equipment will only be a good tool to initiate. One will require substantial data to fight further. So therefore, it is important for the candidate to back up and have a bag full of research data, statistics and credibility of renowned figures. Also, it is important for us to understand the use of phrases that are there as suggested according to the time. So use these phrases not just randomly learned by heart and throwing it without making any connections. These are the connective phrases. So therefore you will have to build up a long sentence before you use these phrases. Build the ground and use them at proper time. Know when to use these phrases, right? So that is also very important. Again, to enhance group discussions, skill practice, discussion skills, practice defending a particular unpopular ideology, right? At the same point of time, you need to understand that these ideologies could also be argued. So argue upon the popular statements. There are 2 different things that one person can do, and both of these 2 different things will help an individual to be more powerful in the group discussions to come. So therefore enhance the skills by practicing defending unpopular ideologies, whatever are unpopular ideologies that are running, or maybe any popular statements that are going. Try arguing upon them and try defending certain unpopular theories, right? This will be a good way to end the particular session. Hopefully the whole session has helped you gain, enhance and learn different tricks to be more powerful in group discussion to come. So therefore, thank you so much for holding the patience throughout the session, and hope to see you in the next session. Thank you.